Chris Menz, get off your bike and take some strong action today. Great to have your company on the Daily Telegraph app and the dailytelegraph.com.au for the end of this week. Well, over the past 12 months, and particularly the last month or two, we've had plenty of talk about e-bikes and what they're going to do, the New South Wales government, to bring an end to the accidents we see on a regular basis, mainly with children involved, and of course kids breaking the laws we've seen on Pittwater Road, on golf courses on the northern beaches. But not much mention is made of e-scooters, which I consider to be just as dangerous as the e-bikes, and in most cases ridden by children younger than those riding e-bikes. I'll get to a story about a 10-year-old in a minute or two. But the e-scooters don't seem to cop a mention. Now, it's not like we've been talking about this just recently. We've been going on and on and on about it. I have for a number of years on my radio program, and I've spoken about it a number of times here over the past 12 months, but nothing seems to happen. Now, at one hospital alone, St Vincent's at Darlinghurst, in 2025, 200 admissions of people, children included, on e-bikes and e-scooters, with various injuries, some of them quite serious. Then we get to the Children's Hospital, the two of them at Randwick and Westmead. Their emergency department has dealt with, since January 1 and February 15, 35 serious bike or scooter incidents involving children. Yes, you remember the one that happened in the eastern suburbs, two young blokes doubling on an e-bike over the top of a vehicle, sustaining very serious injuries. Very serious. And of course, through 2025, we had quite a number of deaths in New South Wales, the result of e-bike and some e-scooter accidents. One of the more notorious that was, of course, reported was a teenage boy on an e-bike who lost his life. Now, his well-intentioned parents had purchased the bike, thinking that an e-bike was what it would say, you know, safe, electronic bike, wouldn't be able to reach speeds. Well, unfortunately for them, the bike they purchased for their son reportedly had the same capabilities as a high-powered motorbike. We lost that little boy. Just terrible. A 65-year-old gentleman from Toongabbie in Western Sydney was struck by an e-bike and killed in October 2025. And then the one that amazed me perhaps most this week on a school night, a 10-year-old schoolboy on an e-scooter at Granville in Western Sydney, struck by a vehicle. Now, I don't know who's been charged or what's happened in relation to that, but there's a couple of points to be made. The little 10-year-old who was taken to hospital in a critical condition, I believe he's now serious but stable at Westmead Children's Hospital, wasn't wearing a helmet. No helmet. Where were his parents? Hopefully they were supervising him on a night ride, but what's a boy doing out at 10 o'clock at night on an e-scooter minus a helmet? And you'd hope that he's being supervised by his parents at the very least, but he shouldn't have been there in the first place. Now, we go to Queensland, and in Queensland, every day of the year, a child is admitted to a hospital with a serious injury as a result of an e-bike or e-scooter incident. Every day of the year admitted to hospital. The Gold Coast is king of the castle when it comes to e-bikes and e-scooters, and Tom Tate, the local mayor, seems incapable of controlling the epidemic they have up there. We've got an epidemic in New South Wales as well, Chris Menz. It's a dreadful state of affairs when children are losing their lives, and older people as well, with no rules in place for the e-bikes and e-scooters. Now, people have said a whole range of things. We need to have them registered. We need to make sure that children know the road rules and the rest of it. Here's the tip for you, Chris. Until you attain the age of 16, you should not be on an e-bike or an e-scooter. I know it sounds tough, but we've got to protect the children from themselves. You cannot drive a vehicle unaccompanied until you're 17. You get your learners at 16, you've got to have a fully licensed driver sitting next to you. Why in God's name have we got 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14-year-olds and some 15-year-olds and older riding these bikes and scooters unlicensed? So grow a set. Do something about it. Say this: if you are not 16, you can't ride one. You've got to be over the age of 16 and you've got to have some sort of permit to do it. Now that'll have mums and dads jumping up and down saying, oh, we spent thousands of this. Well, I'm buggered if I know whether your child's life is more important than the $1,000 you spent on the e-bike or the e-scooter. Just warehouse them. And when the child attains 16, wheel them back out and off you go. In the meantime, Chris Menz, get off your bike and take some strong action today. Stop talking about it. Have a good weekend. I'll catch you Monday.